I'm broke the boss, I flip the script. Super Trucker Podcast got me fully equipped. Left the noise behind, now I'm stacking green. Voyager Nation make me live the dream.
All right. So how do you communicate with your drivers during the day? How often?
I mean, a lot of it obviously depends on the driver, what's going on. But ultimately, I like to do my daily checks. I'll call the driver, see how they're doing, how they're tracking, ETAs, things of that nature. And then just make sure that they know I'm always accessible to them as well. So, hey, man, just give me a call if you got anything, run into any issues, whatever. Boom, boom. Obviously, great drivers. They're going to go ahead and do what they do. They're going to drive. They're, all right, John, yeah, everything's great. I'll call you if I need you. And typically they don't really need you. At that point, I'm just calling you with your next load option and be like, hey, man, I found something. All right, cool, man, send it my way and we keep moving. And that's kind of very minimal. Then obviously, you know, if there's issues, then we just communicate much faster, but sense of urgency, right? I need tracking, or they're taking too long to unload me, things of that nature. We're touching base all throughout until that issue is resolved.
So spending hours and hours and hours on the phone with one driver does not necessarily become better communication.
No, not at all. I mean, spending hours on the phone, even in general, not just the driver, does not equate to productivity, right? I can spend 8 hours on the day calling every single broker, every single load. If I don't book a load, what good does that do to me, right? So it's the same thing with the driver. Building relationships is good with your drivers, making sure that they know what's going on, what you got going on. Stuff like that is nice, but that's really only helps if what you needed to get done is actually done. If I still have, you know, say 2-3 other trucks still waiting on a load, and I'm hanging out over here with Mike for 3 hours, it's not good for me and Mike, and it's definitely not good for my 3 other guys that need a load.
But it's really good for Super Trucker Podcast viewers.
Yeah.
So how do you handle complaints from drivers about rates and waiting times?
So the biggest thing is always understanding, one, I look at patterns. How are you running? What are you doing? What are you really complaining about? So, I mean, just last week, I had a driver telling me, John, I don't move the truck unless it's $2 a mile. I'm not moving this truck. It has to be $2 a mile. I'm like, brother, you know, we're in, I think, Virginia at the time. I'm like, bro, you came into Virginia over $3 a mile. If I'm offering you a load at $1.70, $1.80 a mile to get out of here, you're still moving over $2 a mile. Mm-hmm. Do not get tunnel vision, because in particular areas, good luck finding $2 a mile loads.
Yeah, like Florida. If you want to get out of Florida for $2 a mile,
you're not getting out.
You're not getting out. Yeah. Or you can go down south, but you know once you're gonna reach Miami, there is
definitely not moving out. Yeah.
Owner-operator partnership is very real. I got tons of guys who are making $4,000 take-home. Learn how you can do that by giving me a call at 863-342-5171. We are conveniently located in Lakeland, Florida. We are a Florida-based trucking company that is here to provide you resources to be successful. So once again, it's 863-342-5171.
How do you handle loads with multiple stops or difficult delivery times?
So let's go with the multiple stops first. The biggest thing with the multiple stops is just making sure you have all of your details. So how far are the stops away from each other? How many stops are there? How long is it going to take not only to get unloaded at each of these stops, but how many days is it going to take? If I'm looking at 1,200 miles, 5 stops, that's not a 2-day transit anymore.
Yep.
That became a 3-day transit. And then the rate, because same thing, if we're looking at $1,200 a day, you're paying me $3,600 for 12 miles, or 1,200 miles rather, and it's going to take up 3 days. Let's rock and roll. Yeah. But if you're paying me $2,800 on 1,200 miles just because it has 5 additional stops, but it's going to take up 3 whole days and you're going to lose a day and you're losing revenue, I'm not booking that load.
Yeah, and even if it's not necessarily going to take 3 days, that becomes gambling quite a bit.
Yeah. You're taking a risk at that point. So that's where you always want to look at, what are the times? Does it make sense? What's the rate? It's all big picture. If it's closer to a day and a half to 2 days, I can get a reload, I can do this, I can do that, and you're paying that, not a problem. You know, it's 900, like let's say same scenario, 1,000 miles, but you're paying me $2,800 and I can get it off on 2 days, not a problem. I'll take that, and we'll keep on moving on to something else, even if it's later on the day or whatever. But the whole point is I'm not taking on extra stops and losing, even if the rate per mile looks great, but now I'm losing a day, and now the money for the week, what could have been a $7,000 week, now became a $5,000 week.
So what is going to the times, delivery times? What is the worst 3-hour window for a out-of-state delivery, out-of-home state delivery through the week?
I would say the worst delivery times I ever do is any like afternoon. If you're looking like 2 to 5 p.m., I'd rather just not book anything delivering 2 to 5 p.m. because you're not going to get a reload at that point.
Unless it's Friday and it's your home.
Yeah, pretty much. Like unless I'm home 2 to 5 p.m., like it's terrible. It's a lot easier to say, again, money-wise, I got you enough money for this load. You're delivering at 10 p.m., but now you're completing your reset. You're available first thing in the morning. That's easy. You're delivering at 2, 3, 5 a.m. But again, you're doing that and your reset. That doesn't hurt. But now you're delivering at 2 to 5 p.m. and you think you're going to find a load at 7 o'clock at night? Good luck.
Here we go. How do you build and maintain relationships with brokers who pay well and on time?
The biggest thing, twofold, right? I check in with them all the time. What do you have? What can we do? Stay busy. I think that's the best way to maintain any relationship, right? Not just the communication, but at the same time, quite honestly, I always joke around with the other dispatchers and say this: I will never allow my broker to taste someone else. You know, so you're gonna go over there and find somebody $300 cheaper, and now I might have just lost that load or that run or that consistent business that I was just doing because you found somebody cheaper. So my goal and my job is, can I throw somebody on that load every time it's available?
So now, what is the hardest piece to present that information, that what you would think like very simple and easy to understand information, that hey, we got this really good lane with this really good customer, and now you want to keep it, and sometimes the owner operator just doesn't see it that way. He can get past his personal stuff.
So at that part, it's honestly the biggest thing I always tell everyone is, because you are the subject matter expert, you are the person making those phone calls. It's a matter of, how can I make sure that I can get this person to the same page, right? So for example, yesterday we called the driver, offered him a load. It was like $1,300 on 400 total miles, but it picked up and delivered straight through, right? The driver's looking at that. He goes, well, you know what? How about you find me something with more miles? But he's thinking more miles equals similar rate per mile, right? We all know, if you've been in the business long enough, that's not how it works. I can find you 600 miles
straight through.
I can find you 600 miles that's paying $1,000. That's not what you want to do, right? And it was one of our dispatchers in training. He kind of got shaken up a little bit and was like, all right, let me keep looking. Kept making phone calls. It's like, man, I can't find anything for $1,500 on 500-600 miles. And I was like, yeah, that's why you're supposed to stick your guns to the first one, right? So because that comes with the experience, and you are the person making those phone calls, similar to what you were saying earlier, right? It doesn't matter what DAT and truck stop shows me. If I know that's a good load, I know because I'm making the phone calls. So if I know it's a good load, I'm going to sit here and explain to you what I'm seeing in the market and explain to you why this one makes sense. Why, like, it doesn't make sense to lose. So perfect example of that actually was just 2 weeks ago. I had a driver telling me he needed to make it to Texas. We're coming out of Florida, and he wants to go straight to Texas. That's what, $1,200 on 1,000 miles to go to Texas. So I have one of my brokers, same thing. Gave me a 1-pick 2 drop out of Florida, $1,200 to stop in Pensacola. The driver told me no because he had to be in Texas. So I just did the math, and I'm like, listen, man, you're 10 hours. Where do you think you're stopping tonight? Pretty close to Pensacola. So how about we take this $1,200 to go to Pensacola, do your 10, deliver, and then I go ahead and find you another load out of there, and I get you to Texas after that. Once he started to see that and see the rates, he was like, holy cow, what would have been $1,200 to leave Tampa, for example, to go to Dallas or Houston, became $2,000 leaving Tampa to go to actually Houston, which is less miles anyways.
So here we go. The communication is always very important piece, at least in my experience too, because one thing that I see as like the most handicapping thing for owner operators and dispatchers relationship is inability to effectively communicate.
Correct.
Because, for example, if you kicking this load back, let's say you don't want it, we better have that conversation. Why and what is it that we actually gonna try to do?
Right.
And if I see that you're somewhere, in the freaking green fields of La La Land, I'm gonna confront you right there and then. I'm gonna share my concerns
For sure.
and explain you why I think this is a good idea. At the end of the day, obviously can't force you,
Correct.
but I want to make sure that you know, because later on, if turns out I'm right and you're wrong, which is going to happen every time. No, not every time. But for the most of the times, at least we know what the problem is, and we potentially can learn at least from that mistake instead of just acting like two idiots. But on the other hand now, have you walk of shame type of situations? I remember I had an owner-operator, knew him for years before that event. He was somewhere in Omaha, Nebraska. And I got him what I saw, a really, really good load. So let's say if the rates that day was $2 a mile for 500 miles, right? I offered him a load for $250 a mile on 500 miles. And I came to him bro, we're doing this. And he, just one of those bad days, and, he kicked it back. And I'm like, man, we're gonna regret it. We're freaking gonna regret it. And he's like, it's all right. I don't give a shit. Let's just, I don't want this load. Let's carry on. We'll be fine. And I told him, there is no freaking way in the world that we beating that rate for the lane like that.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, about an hour later, I had to make a phone call to tell him that he was right. I was wrong, and I got him another load for $3 a mile. Very similar lane. But those are kind of more accidents than something that you can
for sure
totally count on. But
right.
That was a walk of shame.
Yeah, so that definitely happens too. It is rare instances. Everything we do is a gamble. It's knowing how and when to gamble, right? So a lot of it are areas. I tell people that all the time too. If I'm in a hot spot and you're gonna kick back a load, it does not hurt me because I still have 1,000 other options to go look at. But if I'm in a spot that's just dry, and I'm offering you a load, and you're gonna tell me no, and I'm sitting here brother, if it's not this, literally you may sit I may not be able to find anything else for you because it is dry. I would not be calling you with this if I couldn't. Now, yeah, there are instances where they said no. 2 hours later, now you have a desperate broker that needs an empty truck immediately.
Somebody canceled.
Yep, and now you're oh, I'm here for the rescue, and it happens, but you cannot bank on that. That's the difficult part of what we do. You cannot bank on always finding something.
Yeah, you need to know when to double down and when to cut your losses.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think that's important.
Owner-operator partnership is very real. I got tons of guys who are making $4,000 take-home. Learn how you can do that by giving me a call at 863-342-5171. We are conveniently located in Lakeland, Florida. We are a Florida-based trucking company that is here to provide you resources to be successful. So once again, it's 863-342-5171.